The Sea-maiden. Part 2. Celtic folk tale. He followed herding in this way for a time, but one night after he came home, instead of getting, all hail, and, good luck, from the dairymaid, all were at crying and woe. He asked what cause of woe there was that night. The dairymaid said, "There is a great beast with 3 heads in the loch, and it must get someone every year, and the lot had come this year on the king's daughter, and at midday tomorrow she is to meet the laidly beast at the upper end of the loch, but there is a great suitor yonder who is going to rescue her." "What suitor is that?" said the herd. "Oh, he is a great general of arms," said the dairymaid, "and when he kills the beast, he will marry the king's daughter, for the king has said that he who could save his daughter should get her to marry." But on the morrow, when the time grew near, the king's daughter and this hero of arms went to give a meeting to the beast, and they reached the black rock, at the upper end of the loch. They were but a short time there when the beast stirred in the midst of the loch, but when the general saw this terror of a beast with 3 heads, he took fright, and he slunk away, and he hid himself, and the king's daughter was under fear and under trembling, with no one at all to save her. Suddenly she sees a doughty handsome youth, riding a black horse, and coming where she was. He was marvelously arrayed and full armed, and his black dog moved after him. "There is gloom on your face, girl," said the youth, "what do you hear?" "Oh, that's no matter," said the king's daughter, "it's not long I'll be here, at all events." "I say not that," said he. "A champion fled as likely as you, and not long since," said she. "He is a champion who stands the war," said the youth, and to meet the beast he went with his sword and his dog, but there was a spluttering and a splashing between himself and the beast. The dog kept doing all he might, and the king's daughter was palsied by fear of the noise of the beast. One of them would now be under, and now above, but at last he cut one of the heads off it. It gave one roar, and the son of earth, echo of the rocks, called to its screech, and it drove the loch in spindrift from end to end, and in a twinkling it went out of sight. "Good luck and victory follow you, lad," said the king's daughter. "I am safe for one night, but the beast will come again and again, until the other 2 heads come off it." He caught the beast's head, and he drew a knot through it, and he told her to bring it with her there tomorrow. She gave him a gold ring, and went home with the head on her shoulder, and the herd betook himself to the cows. But she had not gone far when this great general saw her, and he said to her, "I will kill you if you do not say that 'twas I took the head off the beast." "Oh," says she, "'tis I will say it, who else took the head off the beast but you?" They reached the king's house, and the head was on the general's shoulder, but here was rejoicing, that she should come home alive and whole, and this great captain with the beast's head full of blood in his hand. On the morrow they went away, and there was no question at all but that this hero would save the king's daughter. They reached the same place, and they were not long there when the fearful laidly beast stirred in the midst of the loch, and the hero slunk away as he did on yesterday. But it was not long after this when the man of the black horse came, with another dress on. No matter, she knew that it was the very same lad. "It is I am pleased to see you," said she. "I am in hopes you will handle your great sword today as you did yesterday. Come up and take breath." But they were not long there when they saw the beast steaming in the midst of the loch. At once he went to meet the beast, but there was kloopersteik and klapperstish, spluttering, splashing, raving, and roaring on the beast. They kept at it thus for a long time, and about the mouth of night he cut another head off the beast. He put it on the knot and gave it to her. She gave him one of her earrings, and he leapt on the black horse, and he betook himself to the herding. The king's daughter went home with the heads. The general met her, and took the heads from her, and he said to her, that she must tell that it was he who took the head off the beast this time also. "Who else took the head off the beast but you?" said she. They reached the king's house with the heads, then there was joy and gladness. About the same time on the morrow, the 2 went away. The officer hid himself as he usually did. The king's daughter betook herself to the bank of the loch. The hero of the black horse came, and if roaring and raving were on the beast on the days that were past, this day it was horrible. But no matter, he took the 3rd head off the beast, and drew it through the knot, and gave it to her. She gave him her other earring, and then she went home with the heads. When they reached the king's house, all were full of smiles, and the general was to marry the king's daughter the next day. The wedding was going on, and every one about the castle longing till the priest should come, but when the priest came, she would marry only the one who could take the heads off the knot without cutting it. Who should take the heads off the knot but the man that put the heads on, said the king. The general tried them, but he could not loose them, and at last there was no one about the house but had tried to take the heads off the knot, but they could not. The king asked if there were anyone else about the house that would try to take the heads off the knot. They said that the herd had not tried them yet. Word went for the herd, and he was not long throwing them hither and thither. But stop a bit, my lad, said the king's daughter, the man that took the heads off the beast, he has my ring and my 2 earrings. The herd put his hand in his pocket, and he threw them on the board. Thou art my man, said the king's daughter. The king was not so pleased when he saw that it was a herd who was to marry his daughter, but he ordered that he should be put in a better dress. But his daughter spoke, and she said that he had a dress as fine as any that ever was in his castle, and thus it happened. The herd put on the giant's golden dress, and they married that same day. They were now married, and everything went on well, but one day, and it was the namesake of the day when his father had promised him to the sea-maiden, they were sauntering by the side of the loch, and lo and behold, she came and took him away to the loch without leave or asking. The king's daughter was now mournful, tearful, blind sorrowful for her married man. She was always with her eye on the loch. An old soothsayer met her, and she told how it had befallen her married mate. Then he told her the thing to do to save her mate, and that she did. She took her harp to the seashore, and sat and played, and the sea-maiden came up to listen, for sea-maidens are fonder of music than all other creatures. But when the wife saw the sea-maiden she stopped. The sea-maiden said, "Play on," but the princess said, "No, not till I see my man again." So the sea-maiden put up his head out of the loch. Then the princess played again, and stopped till the sea-maiden put him up to the waist. Then the princess played and stopped again, and this time the sea-maiden put him all out of the loch, and he called on the falcon and became one and flew on shore. But the sea-maiden took the princess, his wife. Sorrowful was each one that was in the town on this night. Her man was mournful, tearful, wandering down and up about the banks of the loch, by day and night. The old soothsayer met him. The soothsayer told him that there was no way of killing the sea-maiden but the one way, and this is it: in the island that is in the midst of the loch is the white-footed hind of the slenderest legs and the swiftest step, and though she be caught, there will spring a hoodie out of her, and though the hoodie should be caught, there will spring a trout out of her. But there is an egg in the mouth of the trout, and the soul of the sea-maiden is in the egg, and if the egg breaks, she is dead. Now, there was no way of getting to this island, for the sea-maiden would sink each boat and raft that would go on the loch. He thought he would try to leap the strait with the black horse, and even so he did. The black horse leapt the strait, he saw the hind, and he let the black dog after her, but when he was on one side of the island, the hind would be on the other side. Oh! Would the black dog of the carcass of flesh were here! No sooner spoke he the word than the grateful dog was at his side, and after the hind he went, and they were not long in bringing her to earth. But he no sooner caught her than a hoodie sprang out of her. Would that the falcon grey, of sharpest eye and swiftest wing, were here! No sooner said he this than the falcon was after the hoodie, and she was not long putting her to earth, and as the hoodie fell on the bank of the loch, out of her jumps the trout. "Oh! that thou wert by me now, O otter!" No sooner said than the otter was at his side, and out on the loch she leapt, and brings the trout from the midst of the loch. But no sooner was the otter on shore with the trout than the egg came from his mouth. He sprang and he put his foot on it. 'Twas then the sea-maiden appeared, and she said, "Break not the egg, and you shall get all you ask. Deliver to me my wife." In the wink of an eye she was by his side. When he got hold of her hand in both his hands, he let his foot down on the egg, and the sea-maiden died. The end.